This overlanding build is quickly becoming one of my favorites. Let's go ahead and show you how we finish up the paint and then get the tent on top of Bob. As projects like this start coming together, people just start to get interested. They want to be a part of it. At one point, we've got neighbors, we got all of our kids, we got Uncle Joe. The wives are out there. We're spray painting it and getting all the parts on top of the M1102. And that's just what I really love about, especially this project, is they just start to kind of form their own community around the project, and it just starts to become a lot of fun.
You got it. You're perfect. You're perfect.
I heard that before.
No, the wire was going to get
teamwork. Did that work?
Well, I think we can call the rack for Bob pretty much done, and I really love the way that it came out with the flat black paint and the grade 8 fasteners. If you're interested in how we did this, check out my previous video where I show you exactly how we design and build the rack system for the Bob trailer and how we use the Langmuir Systems Crossfire Pro to basically cut out a lot of these parts. It's really pretty cool. So before we put the rooftop tent on, we just wanted to take one last chance to make sure all the actuators are going to work. And so we tested it with, between Ryan and I, are combined about 370 pounds. And while I'm riding this thing up, I'm thinking to myself, maybe the frame just went a little bit too big. Maybe the tent's going to look awkward on here, until this happened.
Giant, bro. It's like a 10-man tent.
Something like that. Yeah, no. It's the real deal. Bring it on home. Bring it on home. You can line it up right there. That's perfect, man. Oh, thank you so much. Great job, too, on this thing.
Dude, this is the biggest CVT tent I've ever seen. It's freaking awesome.
Super cool, right?
It is super cool.
Sturdy, feels solid.
It feels totally solid. It's like 400 pounds.
Jeez Louise, man. Well, we're looking
You're
forward
gonna have a little party in there.
We are gonna have a little siesta with the homies and the kiddos, and it'll be a ton of fun.
Heck yeah.
Any tips for the actual unpackaging and setup from what you've seen and how these are put together?
I wouldn't use a knife. I'd be really easy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Just those things, they're fabric. You can cut it, so.
Yeah, we'll take some good care with it.
Yeah, totally.
Right. Jesus.
I love it. That's totally making a video. Oh man, it comes off. You ready? Try and do it. Dude. Oh my goodness. 3, 2, 1. Oh. We're good. You got it? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna move over now.
This is the CVT Mountain Denali 10. It is the hybrid model. It's got two things. One is this hard top, which is really nice to see. Black steel plate with the rails mounted on top. The traditional ladder hooks as well, which are part of like the basic Summit series. But the really, really cool thing about this is that it's got the thicker fabric, which will hold up quite a bit more and I think just be a little bit more rugged overall. And so this is the hybrid series. Its footprint is exactly the same as the Summit, but those are the main two differences. The Denali is the largest one that CVT makes. So it's meant to, I believe, 4+ individuals. So count that, 2 adults and 3 small kiddos, which is present case in hand for yours truly. And we'll have 2 ladders. And you'll see there's the 3rd and 4th rail at the top is where the ladders hook in. Me too. Well, now that you have the skirt lifted on this thing. All right, cool. So this is in here. Here's some posts for.
Dude, these beds are real nice.
Yeah, this is I believe this is the annex, which is basically like a tent inside of a tent. It gives more little space down below to crawl out of. Oh, dude, this is a mega.
whole thing is heavy.
A mega annex.
About this thing's
So
heavy.
you get this thing, that is major. Well, that thing was heavy.
All right, we just got everything out of the box. Let's take a look at the hardware we got before we start putting it together. First off, we got this roof rack right here, which comes with the hybrid tent. And what you'll see inside the box is it's going to come with these L brackets that you're going to use. We'll show you how we hook those up. And then also some fasteners there. Look like this stainless steel with some nylock nuts on them. To hook the tent up to the top of the rack, we have an upgraded rail on this tent, and we'll show you how all this bracketry kind of works. One of the things we found is that we have an 1.5 inch tubing going across the top of our trailer. So the standard hardware that comes with it may not fit. So what we're planning on doing is going with some grade 8 5/16 hardware, which has a 1/2 inch head, and it should work just fine with all this hardware in case you've got the same issue. Got these 4 brackets right here, which are going to hold the ladder on. A couple other things just to kind of tie it down. We'll show you how those work as it goes together. With just the 2 of us, we're able to lift and get the rooftop tent on top of Bob. But I would recommend doubling the amount of beer you have to double the amount of friends you've got, and at least use 4 people to lift this thing on top of whatever you're putting it on. It is so killer to see the tent up on top here. We're just moving it around a little bit back and forth to just get the perfect location for the tent before we start to mount it on. And really, I guess the limiting factor is where that annex is going to go, and then also this hinge. And it looks like we can kind of line it up with the side of the top of the Bob rack. To help us mount this thing, we put just some 4x4 blocks in here, and that raises these mounting tracks just high enough to where we can get the hardware in here. Now the hardware we're working with, we showed you before, but this is how it goes together. The top of the bolt head goes through there, and once it's on there, it doesn't allow it to spin, which will allow you to run that nylock let up on the bottom. Sliding the hardware in there, it's pretty easy. Just goes ahead and slides right into the track, and then we'll run it down all the way over top of the tube that we're going to put it on. Now we're mounting these over top of 2.5 by 1.5 inch tubes. So it's pretty wide and probably wider than most of the racks that are going to be, this thing's going to be mounted on. So that's going to be a problem. What we are worried about is how the length of the bolt in relation to the height of these tubes. So we think that there might be a slight issue that we're going to run into with not having enough threads on the other side of the nylocks. If that's the case, we'll go ahead and put in some longer 5/16 inch bolts, which have a 1/2 inch head, and those will fit in there just about as tightly as a 13mm head will fit inside there. But as long as we can see one thread on the other end of the nylock nut, then we'll be good with that. Let's go ahead and see how it looks. We knew that my garage would not do the first assembly of Bob any justice, so we decided to take Bob to its natural habitat. So we loaded up Bob and the kids, we hit the 7-Eleven to get some Slurpees, and found the perfect place to set up Bob. Well, proportionally, I think we totally nailed this thing. Look at how it sits just perfect with this truck, and where the rooftop tent is about the same height as their car top carrier, kicks the air right over the top. So awesome. And then it'll go another 20 inches up. Let's take a look at what we got here. So we got this thing mounted up, and the hardware that we ended up using was the 5/16 hardware, just because our 1.5 inch tube was a little bit bigger, and we needed that just a little bit longer bolt length to get those things to clear, and also to be able to see some threads on the other side. But it was 8 bolts, no big deal, you know, a couple bucks to get those. And we used the 5/16 as opposed to the 3mm, but they still work just fine because the head of those are 1/2 inch. Rooftop tent just looks so cool up there. It is huge. Remember, this Bob trailer is almost 8 feet by 8 feet, and that tent covers almost the whole area up there. I think it looks awesome. So what we're gonna do, We're gonna go ahead and get to the build right now. So I'll set up a camera. This is kind of our first time putting it all the way together. So it'll be a little bit of learning as we go, but we'll put it on a time lapse so you can see it. And then after it's together, we'll go ahead and talk about some of the lessons learned while we got it together, and then give you a little tour of the inside of this amazing tent. Let's get to it. Let's take a look at the things we're gonna have to use as we put this tent together. These things were all stored, except for obviously the ladder, was all stored inside the tent when we received it. We took those out. It made it a lot easier to lift it and put the tent on top of the trailer. So we got these little poles right here, and these are what basically stretch out the flies over the window to keep rain out from inside the tent. We got 2 ladders. They gotta be what, about 10 feet each, I think, and those go underneath. We got the annex sitting over here. We'll go ahead and try and put that thing up today. A couple of the poles that work with the annex. This pole right here is on the extendable fly, which we'll be putting on. And then we did bring a ladder, and I think Ryan, we'll show you how we're going to use that here once we put it together. Because where most people will enter through the really tall part, considering we have the M1102, we have the ability to enter from the inside. So we're going to be measuring up and getting some ladders such that it makes it a lot easier to climb inside this rooftop tent. Let's go ahead and get to that. All right, just for some reference about how difficult it is to put this tent together. We have never put together one of these tents before. I think we spend more time trying to work on the ladders than we do the actual tent. And also, we've got this tent so early that the video that CVT puts out isn't even out yet to put it out, but it just mechanically makes sense once you start to tinker with it, and the thing goes up quickly, and you learn how to do it, and the next time you do it, you even put it up more quickly. I'm really impressed, again, about everything about this tent, but especially how easy it was for us to put it together. All right, as Ryan goes inside and starts opening some windows so we can show you the inside, I just wanted to show you the outside and how awesome this tent looks. First off, I think the blue and the black just totally pop. We just got this thing together. It may have taken us maybe 5 minutes to get to this point. I just wanted to kind of show you some of the things here. First off, the ladders. We have this extra ladder here that we brought along, which I think is actually not a bad idea to have one of those if you can fit it. And in the M1102, we just got tons of room. We'll be able to do that. But these ladders here, not only do they serve as ability to get into it, but they also serve as stabilizing for the bottom. And the rooftop tent guys might say, oh yeah, of course, they all do that. But we're kind of new to this, so we didn't necessarily know that. But it really looks like it's stable up there. Some of the other things, as far as this big inside the rain fly in here, or the extended awning, these things slide right into this fitting right inside here. So when this thing showed up, it had little caps over the end. We had to take those caps off, and it basically is a male-female fitting right inside there. They slide in, no problems. And what we'll try to do when we take this thing back down is we'll try to slide this whole bar and store it inside there. The other rain flies up here look really awesome. These bars right here basically go through these openings here, which keep it waterproof, slide into the metal railing, and then bend up. So don't be afraid to bend those a little bit. And they hook on just like that to pull that rain fly out. There's a couple more on the front side over here and on the other side. They just think it's going together really well. Totally impressed with the construction of this tent. Let's go ahead and take a look at the inside and let Ryan give you a tour of the whole sleeping area of this massive tent.
All right, guys, welcome inside Bob 1102. This is a CVT Denali tent. It's a hybrid model in dark blue and with an extended fly. And we are just so stoked to be in here. I hope you're digging this space. Just give you an idea about how big I am. I'm about 5'6", 5'7" on a great day. And it's got plenty of space in here for myself, my family. And it's just a fantastic, cozy place. And especially on top of this 3-inch cush mattress that kind of extends through the whole thing. What I really, really love about this tent, besides just its size and its rugged fabric and whatnot, is the open views that it provides. And if you check it out, this is the closed positioned. I would call it the first default position of all the flaps that are here. The second position of all the flaps is the screened position, which you'll see I left this one right here in a screened position. And then the third one, which I think is the money one, is the open position. And you'll see here the moonroof is just killer. and you could just picture yourself just kicking out right here at the end of night, looking up and gazing at the stars. This tent gives you the views, all the protection, all the coziness, charged in nice little pockets throughout. This is the exit side, but we'll go right here. We'll go right here and check out the views that we'll be soaking up today in our Denali and on top of Bob. That's Ponto State Beach out here in Encinitas, Carlsbad area, and we're just loving this tent.
Okay, here are 2 tips that we learned while we were putting this thing together. First, if you're going to be installing the annex, you can hold off on putting the rain flies on the windows because those will just get in the way. So leave those off, put the annex up, and then put them back on after. Second is sometimes the cover that you use to tote around this thing while you're driving and that protects it will bunch up as you open it. So what you can do is take one of the ladders, have somebody lift up the ladder, and then pull the cover out from the hinge area and then put it back down, and that'll make it easy to get to the zippers and everything when you put the annex on. Okay, here's the next tip. To get the annex to start, you're going to grab the end of the annex that has like a tube-like seam to it. You're going to slide it through the receiver on the bottom of the hinge, and then you're going to slide it all the way through. From there, once it's slid into position, you can zip it all the way around. I'd say the first time it took us maybe 10 minutes to figure out how to do the annex. If we had to do it again, easy 2-minute job. It just wasn't that difficult. And I'm really impressed with how durable all the stuff seemed like it was working together.
Get this guy out of your way.
I've actually got to stand back because this thing is so big. So this is Ryan's again, and I am a Sprinter guy. So we have a Sprinter at our house, and this is the annex. This annex is bigger than our entire sleeping space on our Sprinter. It is huge. You could fit a king-size bed just inside the annex of this thing, and it is awesome. Some of the things you don't see on the annex is it does come with some poles to make one of these flies an additional rain fly, where you maybe can have like almost a mud room, if you will, to where it'll hold it out. You can get your shoes off before you get in there, before you climb the ladders, get inside of your tent. But this thing is just enormous on this over here. And I'm gonna take a look over on this side too, just how awesome it is. And the rain flies there, just really well built. I'm totally impressed with the quality of this thing, the ruggedness. Really impressed with it. Dude, 2 things I love most about this build is, one, I love to build things with quality parts. When you get it's all cleaned up, and then now everything that goes on is clean and high quality, and it's coming out well. This build is just awesome. The other part I love about this build is you're paying for it. So that's awesome, man. Cheers.
To that. Right on.
Well, it was our intention to finish up this video out there, but the kids started turning into wrecking balls, so we decided to take the tent down and put it away. And it took us maybe 5, maybe 7 minutes to take it down, and we learned that, you know, every time we do it, we get better. So if you're out there, don't get discouraged if the first time it takes you forever to take the tent down. There's a learning curve. You'll get to it, and then you'll just kind of unlock the, you know, potential of these great tents. Well, everything about Bob is big. The tent's big, the rack's big, the trailer's big, but for good reason. And it's all durable too, and it needs to be, because we're gonna be taking this thing deep into Mexico, well beyond where we have any support of like normal stations, and try to chase a race truck out there in the middle of the Baja Desert. And then the other times, Ryan's gonna be out with his wife and their 3 kids trying to fit a bunch of munchkins in this thing at night. So obviously the size, I think, is warranted in this project. Well, we're finally getting down to the end of the construction part of this Bob build. On the next episode, we're going to be doing the electrical and also putting the awning on Bob. And I think we got some really great ideas for those things that you'll really like, especially if you've been following along to this point. And then we finally get to go do what we've been waiting for, is take this thing out camping. Well, I sure hope you like what you saw here today, and you'll consider hitting the like and subscribe button below. If you want to watch future episodes, especially with Bob, then you can go ahead and ring the notification bell below, and you'll get notifications when our next episodes come out. Any of the tools that we use on our episodes, we put them on our description below, or you can find them at ntdracing.com. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care of yourself.
I think the really cool thing about this is, you know, we definitely did it ourselves, but we did it with, brought all those things together in what is definitely a King Kong. Okay. Janet.
Let's start that over again.
Hey, Janet. Oh, Janet. Around Honcho in the desert, and you know, bringing the familia. I think this thing is definitely built for a posse in mind. It definitely has a size too, and you know, together with Bob and Honcho, I think we're gonna have a pretty awesome little spring here.
It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
So a lot of great stuff coming. Just immediately coming up for Bob. We're gonna be doing the electric. We're putting on the awning. We're gonna do a little bit of bed liner in this thing, and then Bob's gonna be pretty much full of good to go. And I can't wait to get on it.